as I noted last year, the Harvard Nurses Health Study found that the daily consumption of the amount of cholesterol found in just a single egg appeared to cut a woman's life short as much as smoking 25,000 cigarettes, 5 cigarettes a day for 15 years. Following up on that research, a study in the journal Atherosclerosis found that just 3 eggs or more a week was associated with a significant increase in artery clog and plaque buildup in people's carotid arteries going to their brain. A strong predictor of stroke, heart attack, and death.
One thing I want to mention is the egg things, right? It's not just the fact you eat an egg. It's the fact that maybe you don't eat an egg, but maybe you have bread or other things that have eggs in it. Same thing. You're still eating the egg even though you don't, it's not, in a yolk and so on and so forth. So just, that's, it's hard to think of that way and understand, but that's...
And eggs are in a lot of stuff.
Sorry?
They're in a lot of stuff, so you gotta read the labels.
You gotta read the label, that's for sure. Oh yeah, you go crazy.
In fact, they found a similar exponential increase in arterial plaque buildup for smokers and egg eaters. Those that ate the most eggs had as much as 2/3 the risk of those that smoked the most, the equivalent of a pack-a-day habit for 40 years or more. This did not go over easy with the egg industry, as revealed in a series of internal memos about this group of researchers retrieved through the Freedom of Information Act. The American Egg Board discussed the wisdom of making industry responses when the public knows there's a vested interest. So, the executive director of the Egg Board's Egg Nutrition Center proposed they contact some of our friends in the scientific community to have an objective, external source author the response. If you do so, he wrote to one of their friends at Yale, we'll certainly compensate you, but the prominent Yale physician refused to participate in an overly antagonistic letter given his friendship with one of the co-authors of the review. If you can't find someone with credentials to counter the science, why not just make one up? How's this for a bizarre twist? An email was circulated to discredit the researchers by a doctor, MD, PhD, why not throw in an MBA while you're at it, who claimed the prestigious researchers didn't know a thing about nutrition. Only when the principal investigator of the egg study replied to the allegations did we learn that the doctor doesn't exist. His email was hacked. The poor guy was like, I was on vacation, I don't know what you're talking about. And apparently the culprit was never found.
Unfortunately, he's talking about a study that did not exist, okay? Unfortunately, there are lots of those. Unfortunately, those are the same studies published in all the peer-reviewed publications that exist throughout the land. I'm talking about New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet, and all that kind of Elsevier and so on. It's unfortunate, that's the way it is. If you follow the money, you might find a study that actually took place, but you're going to find some results that are going to help whoever's writing that study, that's for sure. It's horrible, it really is, but that's the world we live in, right? Which means this is about you. You got to do it. You got to take control of your own. You can't just expect everybody else to tell you, and you can't listen to Dr. Oz on TV because what he tells you today, tomorrow he's going to tell you something different, the third day something different yet. He's a marketer, and a very good one. He's a salesman, and a very good one. He's also a doctor, but what he talks about, you got to really look into it. It's tough to do. Okay.
Alright, and possible substitutions for the meat, poultry, or fish. You could use starchy vegetables, whole grains, pastas, and beans. You may substitute tempeh or tofu meats in recipes. And tempeh has more of a meat texture, so here's one to take a look at, and we will bring one to pass around.
If you've never used it, it will absorb the flavors you put with it, pretty much. And also, too, if you do that, soak up some stuff too. So, but you see, it's hard, which means that even if it soaks stuff up, it still has texture and stuff like that. So a lot of people use it as a meat substitute, right? The nice thing about tempeh is the fact that it's also a fermented product, which helps the gut flora and so on and so forth. So that's also good, right? So this is a pretty good item to use, in my opinion. Right? Let's pass it around just so you can take a look at it. It's available at all the grocery stores, no problem. Thank you.
Where do you find it?
It's available in all the grocery stores.
No, I put it in where? Is it
In the
rice or?
right.
Refrigerated?
No, it's refrigerated, right?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. What the tofu would be, for example, right
Okay.
next to it, in that kind of area. Okay. It is made out of soy, so people have some concerns about that, and this will address that.
Why do people who eat legumes, beans, chickpeas, split peas, and lentils, live longer? Well, men and women who eat legumes tended towards being lighter, having a slimmer waist, lower blood sugars, lower cholesterol, lower triglycerides, better kidney function, lower blood pressure. So, no surprise, may live longer. But, interestingly, bean intake was a better protectant against mortality in women than men. They think this may be because cancer was the leading killer of women in this population, especially breast cancer. And we know that breast cancer survivors who eat soy foods, for example, have significantly lower likelihood of cancer recurrence. Eating soy foods appears to protect against the cancer coming back. This 2012 review looked at 3 prospective human studies done to date and found that women who ate the most soy had a 29% lower risk of dying from breast cancer and a 36% lower risk of cancer recurrence. And a 4th study was since published, and it showed the same thing. Soy food intake is associated with longer survival and lower recurrence among breast cancer patients. With an average intake of soy phytonutrients above 17 milligrams a day, which is about what's found in a single cup of soy milk, the mortality of breast cancer may be able to be reduced by as much as 38%. Here's the survival curve over 5 years. The purple line represents the survival of the women with the highest soy consumption. As you can see, after 2 years, all the breast cancer survivors eating lots of soy were still alive. But a quarter to a third of the women who ate the least soy were dead. And after 5 years, 90% of the tofu lovers were still alive and kicking, whereas half of the tofu haters kicked the bucket.
Now, although it makes soy sound like a miracle kind of thing, in reality, you have to think about this. The people that would be eating soy and tofu and so on and so forth, generally speaking, are thinking a little healthier and that kind of thing. So more than likely they're doing more exercise, they're doing other healthier things. So this would help, would add to these numbers. Just so you know, it's not just the soy itself, it's the soy and what also goes with that, okay? Just so you understand that, all right? But soy itself, particularly for breast cancer and so on, and is another very important thing for the gentleman here, all right? Anytime you hear the word breast and cancer, you must also think of prostate and cancer, because everything is connected between the breast, women's breast, and men's prostate, like hand in glove. Everything they say about that basically is the same. Same estrogens and so on and so forth. So it's important for us as well to understand this.
You can see a similar relationship when you look at breast cancer survival and soy protein intake, as opposed to soy phytonutrient intake. How does soy so dramatically decrease cancer risk and improve survival? Soy may actually help turn back on BRCA genes. BRCA is a so-called caretaker gene, an oncosuppressor, meaning a cancer-suppressing gene responsible for DNA repair. Mutations in this gene can cause a rare form of hereditary breast cancer, popularized by Angelina Jolie's public decision to undergo a preventive double mastectomy. But only about 5% of breast cancers run in families. So 95% of breast cancer victims have fully functional BRCA genes. So if their DNA repair mechanisms are intact, how did breast cancer form, grow, and spread? Well, tumors do it by suppressing the expression of the gene through a process called methylation. The gene's fine, but cancer found a way to turn it off, or at least turn it down, potentially facilitating the metastatic spread of the tumor. And that's where soy may come in. Maybe the reason soy intake is associated with increased survival and decreased cancer recurrences is because the phytonutrients in soy turn back on your BRCA protection, removing the methyl straitjacket the tumor tried to place on it. So researchers put it to the test. These are 3 different types of human breast cancer, specially stained so that the expression of BRCA genes turns up brown. So this is what full DNA repair would look like, hopefully what normal breast cells would look like. Lots of brown, lots of BRCA expression. But instead we have column 2, raging breast cancer. Well, if you add soy phytonutrients back to the cancer, BRCA does indeed get turned back on. The DNA repair appears to start ramping back up. So this was at a pretty hefty dose, equivalent to about a cup of soybeans. The results suggest that treatment with soy phytonutrients might reverse DNA hypermethylation and restore the expression of the tumor suppressor genes, BRCA1 and BRCA2. It may help with other breast cancer genes as well. Women at increased genetic risk of breast cancer may especially benefit from high soy intake.